Hi, welcome back to the Parade Lab podcast. This week we are chatting about the Chinese Grand Prix. What is your reaction about that race, Sophie?
I loved it. It was awesome. It was a really enjoyable race to watch. I just loved it. It was so good. Cool track, lots of good results for lots of different people, some bad results for some people. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I understand the new regulations and stuff after watching it because it was just unpredictable, but also really, really entertaining. So yeah, loved it. What did you think?
Same. Yeah, I said it was like super exciting. And it was sort of, I guess, a weekend of firsts for some people. And then it was also a bit of a roller coaster, right? There was ups and downs. Some people gained a lot from it, some people lost, and I'm sure we'll get into that with our podiums. But also the new regulations, because there's been so much talk about them, and even more so after the Melbourne race, where people it's a little bit like Marmite or something, like you either or Vegemite. Like
Yeah,
you
yeah.
either love it or you hate it, it seems. Like you're either one, pro these new regs or you're really anti and against them. But I did enjoy this race, and I felt like there was a lot more excitement and things happening. And so I can maybe see why they've done it. And it's interesting, I think, to see how people are going to deal with the difficulties that come from having the shakeup and like navigating, a new environment. So yeah, it was good.
Agreed.
Yeah. So with that, I am super curious because actually there were many more things than three things that happened in this race for a podium. So what is your P3?
It was really hard to pick. Same with the memes. There were really like so many good ones. My P3 is that I'm liking the new rigs. This race like proved what the new rigs can do in terms of like entertainment value. I think the race starts are really like quite interesting because as good as qualifying can be, and this China also had a really good qualifying. I could have built a podium off that alone. Qualifying was really good, but then the race start has sort of become the great leveler. It's just so unpredictable. Some people had some really good launches, and then other people, was it the Red Bulls, just like didn't really move, or the V carbs, or both of them. But yeah, I just thought like the racing was good. It was pretty close. Like the Ferraris were battling. It was close battling with the Mercedes and the Ferraris. And then even throughout the field, like there was like Alpine versus Haas quite a lot. The Cadillacs were fighting someone at the back. It was just like close. Everything was quite close. So I think there was always something to watch, which is refreshing because although Kimmy won quite significantly, it was in a different fashion almost because last season when someone was winning, they were just like 20 seconds ahead and it was kind of a race of their own. But even if this was happening in this one, there was still something to watch. So I really liked it. I thought, yeah, this week I'm pro the new rigs. Last week it was sort of like, oh, okay, it's going to be a lot about who's got the speed advantage in terms of battery. But yeah, this week I really liked it. I thought it was good. So that was my P3.
I think that's a great P3 and also kind of sets the scene for this race because so much
Yeah.
of it was driven by like the new regs and how people are figuring that out. It made it interesting to actually watch the front of the pack, the middle of the pack, and the back of the pack, right? So
Absolutely, yeah.
I think there was a point with the commentary where I was watching it and they moved away from like, the Mercedes Ferrari stuff that was happening at the front to concentrate on like
Yeah.
Alpine and Haas and like what was going on there, like in the middle. And that was equally exciting. And then actually
Yeah.
had to like flip back because something interesting was happening at the front again. But usually,
Yeah.
with the commentary even, we stay on the leaders and we don't often look at what's going on. Even like you might catch it in like the highlights or something. So it doesn't often become that interesting. But yeah, in this race, it was like genuinely interesting and really good racing and it was entertaining. So I do know people are also saying that, oh, they've done it for the fans and it's a bit like Mario Kart. And I mean, there's been so many references to
Yeah.
Mario Kart like in this. But I
Yeah.
think more than that, it's not that it levels the playing field, but it allows you to see more of the like racecraft and skill of some of the
Yeah.
drivers in the midfield and who are, further back in those cars. And I'm sure we'll get to this. But some of them are sort of like shining and standing out, even though they would be, they're in a car that's maybe not as great as the first four. And I think
Hmm.
that's really interesting because now you're getting to actually see them, see their skill come through, as opposed to just being about the car and like the fastest ones at the front.
I completely agree because it's nice to see a mix of people. I mean, it also changes because the like landscape of the midfield has changed because some of the top teams from last season are now there, which
Yeah.
is a factor as well.
Exactly. Well, that's a really nice segue into my P3. So my P3 on my podium is I've just said like McLaren mishaps. So in
Hmm.
this race, oh my gosh, McLaren, oh no, I really like felt for them. And also I not even felt for them. I was shocked. Like I didn't actually believe that happened at the start of the race because Lando and Oscar did not start that race. And at first, as I was watching the beginning of the race, it was like, oh, Lando's still in the pits, and then, he's gonna get sorted out and then join. Then it was like, oh no, he's gonna start from the pit, and they're just taking some extra time to fix his car. But then he looked like he was getting ready to like get back in the car. So I thought, they've got more time, they're gonna get him back. He's just gonna join from the back of the grid. So okay, then Oscar was on the grid. Like he was there, and I don't know if it flipped to an ad or it just started the race, they bring all the drivers up. And then all of a sudden when they came back, they were like, "Oh, Piastri's car has been pushed off the grid." Is back
Mm.
in there and he's got a sort of problem too. Then I still thought they were going to start, like just both of them from the pit. And then the race, the lights came on and they started and they were not on the board. So I was a little bit in shock about that. I couldn't believe that they went from one to none. Oscar, that's it. He basically hasn't raced besides the sprint race. That's two back to back. And he made a joke about it, sort of saying like, I don't know when was the last time I've watched, a race, like two races back to back like this, not racing in them. So yeah, that was huge for them as a team.
Yeah, huge. I didn't know what was happening. Like I didn't watch the broadcast until maybe like 3 minutes before the race actually started. So I didn't see any of the Lando stuff. I just saw it on Instagram briefly. But I did see, I don't, there might have been like 10 minutes before or something. I saw an interview of Oscar in the pit lane and they said, "Oh, there's a problem with Lando's car. Does that impact you?" And he went, "Yeah, he's got some trouble, but no, I'm all good. I'll just focus on myself." And then I looked down and then looked up and he was gone. I was like, hang on, like what's going on? And then I saw a thing like a papaya rules meme afterwards saying, Oscar, like starting from the pit lane, it's only fair, Lando starting from the pit lane. But no, they weren't starting from the pit lane, they were just in the pits. Yeah, bizarre. So it was just a technical issue.
Technical, and they said maybe different technical issues with both of them. But
Mm,
then in the interviews, they also said they because they were kind of pushing him to see, well, do they know what it is so that they can fix it and sort it
yeah,
out? And
yeah.
actually, even at that stage, it seemed like they didn't know what it was yet. So I think we've seen a few. This is not like with the reliability of the cars over
Mm,
the two races now, and the sprint and the qualifying, and we've had a few people. When George Russell had problems with the qualifying with his car, where luckily they were able to fix it and sort it out. I think Toto said it was sort of like an on-off reset switch that they had to
mm,
do like three times, and then eventually it worked because they also didn't know exactly what was going on. So this is also part of, I guess, the new regs is the reliability side of things where it is
mm-hmm.
unpredictable and people are going to have to sort of figure out what's going on with these cars. But I'm sure as the year progresses, they're going to get a handle on it. And then, there's going to be less of this. But it also, because of McLaren's
Just
misfortune,
miss.
yeah, just a miss. It sort of cleared up the space, right? Because Lando and Oscar were, I think, five and six,
Yeah.
or sort of in
Oh,
the mid,
yeah,
like
yeah, five and
qualified
six. Yeah.
5 and 6, and so their cars were gone, and so
Mm-hmm.
it created the space for other people to come in and take it, which was exciting.
Yeah, when they left a gap, it also impacted the race start as well.
Hmm.
So last episode we said that in Australia it was a race start of two halves. This one actually was because it was cut in half. Okay, my P2 was Kimmy had a fantastic weekend. He got pole position, and then he won the Grand Prix, which I predicted last race. Yeah, just so happy for him. He drove a really, really good race. He had to fight for it as well. Like it didn't come easily to him. Yeah, his qualifying was just awesome. And then it was just so nice that he broke the record. He's now the youngest pole sitter in Formula One history, which is amazing. To win the race as well, like you could just see how special it was, and got like emotional, and it was really nice. Just everybody liked to see that. It doesn't happen often that there's a brand new winner. So when it does, it's like it's a really, really cool thing. So just I thought he had an amazing weekend, and I'd say it will be the first of many.
It was amazing. I was so happy for him. And you predicted it, Sophie, because
I know.
actually, yeah, at the end of our last episode, we were talking about China and you said Kimmy for the win.
Yeah,
And there we go. It
yeah.
happened. That's
I said it as a
amazing.
throwaway comment. I should have
Yeah.
been more like Kimmy for the win. I was sort of like, yeah, Kimmy could win.
Yeah.
But he did, and he did it really well. I think it's interesting. So now George has one plus a sprint win, and Kimmy has one. I think the attitude of George after Kimmy's win was quite interesting. Yeah, I think Mercedes that they've obviously got the most dominant car, it seems. Best power engine and what they've done with the car design as well. So it will be them battling it out for the championship
Yeah.
drivers. I'd say they're probably going to get constructors just anyway.
Yeah.
George was happy for Kimmy, but I think he could have been happier in terms of like the cool down room and stuff. I thought
Mm,
his attitude was quite off-putting. On the commentary, it was quite cool. Someone was talking about how Nico Rosberg he got his first win in China. So
okay.
Kimmy has shadowed that and done the same thing. But then the other thing with Nico Rosberg is obviously he had quite a feud with Lewis Hamilton when they were at Mercedes, and that was Brosades. So I think we're getting Brosades 2.0 with the big brother, little brother dynamic. And I think George kind of showed that. Like he didn't say anything bad, but he could have put on a smile a little bit more. Obviously, he was upset not to win, but I just
Yeah.
thought he was like yeah, a bit awkward.
Yeah,
That might have
I
just been me thinking that though. I don't know.
no, I mean, George said all the right things. It's not like he was
Yeah.
grumpy or anything. First thing he said was like, "Congratulations to Kimmy." I watched the like post-race drivers interview actually where the three of them were on the couch there. And yeah,
Awkward.
that's where I picked it up more. I was like, oh,
Yeah.
George was kind of just like this. And I think probably I don't know, he seemed okay. I think maybe with George, it's just going to be interesting because maybe he didn't really see Kimmy as a proper threat to him
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
he was the rookie, like very young, and the car's good, but actually George has all the experience, and so maybe didn't think. But then I think what it kind of just showed that if there's any sort of mishap or mistake on George's side or reliability issues with the car, which can happen,
Mm-hmm.
Kimmy can pounce. Like he's able
Absolutely.
to do it, right? With the car, he's able to put that together and then defend against people like Lewis and others. So I think maybe that's just sort of a wake up call for George. And also it's maybe just bringing flashbacks of Lando and Oscar last
Yeah.
year, and maybe he doesn't want to be in a position like that, where it was sort of Lando winning, then Oscar winning. But
Yeah.
then Oscar kept winning, and Lando had a fight at the end to get that back. So
Yeah.
maybe he thinks it's not going to be that same situation because clearly, like Kimmy's such a rookie compared to him, whereas Oscar and Lando were, I don't know, a couple of years, not as much of a gap.
I wonder what the Mercedes equivalent of papaya rules would be. I'm thinking it would be called like something like Operation Patronus Blue or something like that. That's what I'm thinking. And there'd be like a button involved, like Toto pushing something.
Yeah, I was gonna say it probably is more gonna be named after Toto or something like
Yeah.
like Tums or something, something like that, where they've got to sort of just toe the
Yeah.
line when it comes to what he says. My P2 was Ferrari versus Ferrari. So I think last week I said Ferrari versus Mercedes. But
Mm-hmm.
actually, I thought the more interesting one this time around in the race was actually Lewis and Charles, like just going at
Mm-hmm.
it with each other. I think the most interesting thing about that is they both seem to really enjoy it because, Charles came on the radio and actually said, while he was out there, like, oh, that's actually, I enjoyed that battle. Like that was fun. And then his race engine, was like, oh, okay, that's good that you think that. I don't
Glad
know.
you enjoyed it. We
Yeah,
were
glad.
stressing.
Exactly. I did. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. And then Lewis after the race was like, that is one of the most fun races he's had in a very, very long time, or like over his
Mm-hmm.
career. He really enjoyed that with Charles, and like doing that sort of back and forth and chasing each other and going really, really close. I found it very stressful. So at some point I was like, no, what are you guys doing? Like this is
Mm.
way too much. And like, are they potentially, because at one point they were both in front of George and Kimmy was ahead. And then by battling it out with each other, people have been saying, did they open the door and let Russell just go straight past when they could have played
It
a
looked
team?
like it.
Yeah, they could have played
Mm.
a team game and kept him behind and
Mm.
potentially, been further up. I don't know. They've spoken about that a bit and said they just don't, they think Russell would have gotten ahead anyway, in
Yeah.
whatever way they tried to do it. And then I saw an interview with Fred afterwards, Fred Visser, and he was saying he doesn't want to put anything in place to say that they have to like give the position up, and he wants to just trust them and allow them to go racing. But I did think that they were very respectful of each other. It was extremely aggressive. Like, they were
Very.
going at it. I think they slightly just touched, and like
Mm.
Lewis or someone said it was like a kiss. Like it was just a little
Yeah.
bump. But, I do think they both have a lot of respect for each other, and they're quite good at not being, completely, pushing the other off or anything like that. But it was
Yeah, they're
close. It
towing the
was really
line.
close. Yeah. So yeah, I just thought that was very interesting, and I'm sure we are going to see so much more of that as the season unfolds.
I think Lewis did have a lot of fun, and it showed. I loved in the cool down room how he walked in and he was like, "Ah, this is nice. This is what they look like now. Like this has been upgraded. You put them here." That kind of thing was quite cool because you can see obviously he's done a lot of those and lots of cool down rooms, but he hasn't done it for a while. So yeah, that was quite cool to see. Their battles were very, very close. Like I thought that if they weren't careful, they were going to take each other out. And when they kissed, it did look like that was going to escalate from there. Yeah, it was lucky, but it was cool to watch teammates battling. It's always interesting, I think, as well, because like it's either make or break. Like if they go too far, then boom, there's two positions open because
Yeah.
it's two cars off. So that also added to it, sort of thinking like, oh, okay, so calculating where everyone is in the race, it's like if you get the Ferraris out of there because they were the battle for P3.
So the way that the Ferraris are starting the races, it's almost
Mm,
like they're the ones that are hunting down, like, and like Lewis got in front of Kimmy, and then Leclerc got in front of Russell, and
mm-hmm,
that's how they sort of ended up in that
mm-hmm.
in lap one. So it's just, yeah, it's interesting to see the two of them do that. I guess we did laugh a lot at Papaya Rules last year, just in terms of what that ended up bringing. But it kind of looks like, we've got it in Ferrari now, and we've kind of maybe have it in Mercedes. And these teams are going to need to think about what they do with the driver versus driver.
I think as well, it's knowing who your number one driver is. And I don't think Ferrari knows that because I think they both firmly believe that they are the number one. And I think you can make the argument for either of them. But Mercedes, I think, because George is the senior, he is the number one. But his number two is very, very good. So
Very
yeah,
good.
it's not like a gap, which was the case with, well, it was kind of the case with McLaren that they were both very similar. So it was hard to differentiate them. But Ferrari at some point is going to need maybe just a bit of structure.
So yeah, that was my P2. What
Hmm.
is your P1?
My P1 was that Alpine scored double points this race. Fantastic result. Just really, really nice to see a team that was struggling last season to be
Mm.
up there in the fight. From the very start of the race, both Pierre and Franco had very good starts. So then it was awesome, like going into turn one, it was really lovely to see the pink cars among the other cars. It was just really, really Cool. And it got better from there. So it was a fantastic race for the team. P6 for Pierre and P10 for Franco. Franco had a fantastic race. He would have maybe gotten an additional point if Esteban hadn't have spun him out, which is disappointing because I really thought, oh no, it's going to slip away from him. Like the points are there to take. And then Ocon, of all people, spins him out just as Franco was exiting the pit. Esteban was coming around and he was had the tire advantage. So yeah, their spinning around was in perfect sync. Like that was pretty impressive. And then Franco, like that would be so scary turning around mid race. But then to just like end up back where you're going, it's like, okay, go. Almost no harm done. I think he picked up a little bit of damage, but yeah, it was just really, really cool. So very happy with that. And yeah, just added to the weekend. So pleased for Alpine. Yay.
Yeah.
Yay.
I saw that and I knew you would be excited about it.
Yeah.
But I also thought, I mean, at one point, Colapinto was number two. Like he was
Yeah.
second in the race, and it was like, what's happening here? And it
Yeah.
was Antonelli and then Colapinto because of the safety car and the pitting, and they, I think, were on the hards. They didn't do the pit stops. They stayed out,
Yeah.
right, while everybody else pitted,
Yeah.
and so then they ended up going up and.
Yeah.
It was like, wow, okay, Colapinto. And I was like, where did he come from? Also, because I was thinking where, because he didn't qualify in the top 10. I know
He
Gasly
started
qualified.
P12.
Yeah, Gasly did
Yeah.
well. And so, yeah, I was like very happy for him. Also, because Colapinto didn't have the best season last year. Also, because Gasly managed to
No.
still, get exactly.
Yeah.
So, for him to actually get points on the board, early on in the season and for them to have a double points finish was really good. They were definitely one of the teams that benefited, I think, from the McLarens, not being there, but also kind of held their
Exactly.
own because they did have a battle with both the Haas's,
Yeah.
like because and also, I mean, you didn't, but Behrman did really well too. He
He did
ended up
very well.
he ended up fifth. So a great result for him, and there was some good battles with him and Gasly and Colapinto at
Yeah.
various points.
At a certain point, they were chasing down both of the Red Bulls as well, which
Hmm.
was really interesting. If you think about the like dominance that Red Bull has had over the past few seasons and compare that with Alpine, to be chasing down Red Bulls
Yeah,
was cool. It was really cool. There were so many good components to this weekend that you could just about do an episode on like the sprint, the
each of them.
qualifying.
Yeah,
It was all really good.
because there were so many results, right? There was sprint
There were so many
qualifying,
results.
then there was sprint, then there was normal qualifying, then there was a
Yeah.
race. Exactly.
Yeah, so it was a double points weekend for Pierre as well. But they both had a really good qualifying, which really set the tone for the race. Franco got his best ever qualifying with Alpine.
Yeah.
They were both through to Q2, which was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just a really positive result.
It was very positive. And also, I mean, I saw an interview with Max, when they were saying to him, like, what are your expectations for the race? What are you going to try and do? Because obviously, like you mentioned, Max super unhappy this weekend,
Yeah.
especially like really unhappy, like talking about like potentially retiring from the sport or,
Yeah, I didn't
like
know if that was real or
I
not.
also
I
was
saw
like,
that as a radio message.
is this just AI generated like meme content or something? Or did he actually, because
Top tier if it
yeah,
was.
he actually, he did have to retire the car and it was very late in the race too. I actually think that's worse than having to, I think he was on like lap 46 or something or 56
Yeah, it was like
and then
10
he
from the
retired.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he was talking about things I think that he enjoyed doing outside of Formula One anyway, like the other kind of sports, motor racing and things like that. So I think that was real in an interview. But anyway, his expectation for this race that he was saying is they were just going to try and get ahead of the Alpine, which in this case was Gasly, right? So finish ahead of the Alpines. That was his sort of
Nice.
realistic goal for the race, right? Going
Yeah.
into
Yeah.
it and you were like, okay, well, my gosh, Red Bull or Max trying to say that he just wants to get ahead of an Alpine is pretty bad, but he didn't even finish ahead of the Alpine. So, because I mean, he had to retire, but also, Hajar was lower in the order too. So yeah,
Mm,
it's very different times that we are in,
very.
where, it's all changed up now. And so you are seeing different teams and different people moving up and
It's exciting.
it is exciting. So yeah, great podium. I knew you were P1. I knew you were gonna do that. My P1 is that podium. So the actual podium from this Chinese Grand Prix was just, oh, it was so good. So
Yeah,
definitely it just had all the feels. So excited for Kimmy. His first race win. And he was so emotional at that race
it's
interview.
beautiful.
It was just so genuine, because it was straight after, like he just had got the news and he started crying, and it was just you
Hmm.
could see how much it meant to him and how genuinely happy he was about that, and I love that. And then for him to sort of share that with Lewis, so then you had Lewis on the podium. I'm so happy. So that was one of my predictions from when we spoke last week.
It
That
was.
yeah, I wanted Lewis on the podium. I was really hoping that he would get a podium, and he did. Finally, his first one with Ferrari in like over a year. And it's the longest he's been also without a podium. I think this is his 203rd podium or something. So he's had
Yeah.
so many, but obviously this one means so much to him because it's his first with Ferrari. And for him to be doing that, on the same day as Kimi winning, and then Bono was on the podium too, and obviously that was Lewis's race engineer for so long, and I can just and then obviously George being there also. So Toto commented on that and just said it was really special for him to witness that podium. And
Yeah.
then I saw other stuff talking about how it was sort of like Mercedes past, present, and future all in one sort of lineup, with obviously Lewis being past and George kind of present, and then Kimi representing sort of the future of Mercedes. So yeah, I just thought it was really special for it to be both Kimmy and Lewis's like firsts, and them to be there together. And I also thought it was really funny. I noted the same thing where Lewis was commenting on the cool down room because he hasn't been in it for so
Yeah.
long, that he hadn't been there since the upgrades and things had changed. So that was quite funny.
It was a very special podium. I loved that Bono was up there. That was really poetic for Lewis and Kimmy both. It was also a special one because they had their family there, which was super cute. So
Yeah,
Kimmy's dad was
sad.
there in the garage, and Lewis's mum was there as well.
Yeah. And it was Mother's
So that's
Day,
just so
or
nice.
like
And it was Mother's Day.
British Mother's Day. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So that was very nice to see. Yeah, it was just a cool podium. Like everyone was happy with that, even competitors. It's like it's nice to see someone new win a race
Yeah.
and break all the records. And it was so cool having the Italian anthem on the podium as well. Really liked it. Like obviously it happens when
Yeah.
Ferrari is the winning constructor, but
Yeah.
imagine if Kimi goes to Ferrari one day. That would be chaos.
I mean, that's what I was thinking. Because actually,
Yeah.
somebody, I don't know if it was Ted in his notebook, saw Fred, like Fred Vasern was like, oh, the Italians or even the Tifosi must be excited, because
Mm.
obviously also Kimi winning, to have an Italian winner. And then, Fred was like, obviously, congratulations to Kimi. But I mean, there was also a lot of talk about Ollie Behrman. When you talk about who's going to Ferrari, I mean, just
Yeah.
the way that he's driving has
Yeah.
started off for the season. He's fifth in the drivers' standings at the moment.
Yeah.
And it was just a little bit of talk about like, well, when's his time gonna come? Because the
Yeah.
natural progression for him would, be going to Ferrari. So I guess
Yeah.
Kimi would have some competition if he decided to move that way.
Yeah. I think it probably is Ollie's seat. I think Kimi would have the Italian factor. And obviously
Mm,
he's very good. They're both very good. But like Ollie was brought in through
yeah,
Ferrari. So he was a Ferrari Academy driver.
yeah.
And he obviously like stepped in for Carlos few years ago, a couple years ago now.
Hmm.
Um yeah, so I would say when Lewis retires, Ollie will be the next one.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know when Lewis is
He
gonna.
might do it in Alonso and just stay forever.
No, I mean, I think he wants his
Not in
eighth,
Ferrari
right?
the whole
He
time,
yeah,
though.
he wants his eighth, well, to get that eight and then be the because he's tied at the moment, right, with seven. And so I think to get that eight and just break that record is what he
Mm,
wants. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, I'm so happy that Lewis got this podium, and it also seems like happy Lewis, positive Lewis is back because it was painful at
yes.
points last season was pretty bad, and a lot of people have commented on that also, just like how maybe spiraling and negative or whatever, he was in just mentally, and now how he seems so much more positive this season. So yeah, I'm just really happy for him, and hopefully we see more podiums because he also he finished three P3 in the sprint. Obviously it's a sprint podium, but he also got that. So yeah, I'm hopeful that we'll see more from him. I think he knows they're very far off from the Mercedes at the moment in terms
Mm,
of performance. So because he kept getting the lead, but he wasn't able to hold on to it. The
yeah.
Mercedes would
Yeah.
take it over. So if they had the power or were able to actually just go fast on the straights, then he may be able to hold on to that, which then would be really interesting. Those were our podiums, plus a bunch of other stuff. Shall we go to our memes for the week?
Yes. There were
Okay.
so many
I know.
memes to
I'm
choose
very
from.
curious to see whether we have the same one again or not.
I've got five contenders here.
I've got two.
You go
Let's see.
first, and I'll base on the vibe of your one.
I
All
got.
my all my ones are like about different things.
Okay, mine are both related to the same thing. So I'll just
Nice.
show this one and then I'll maybe show the other one that I had. I did the one that says it's sort of baby Yoda, and then it's like everyone watching Kimmy cry, like when he got his
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I felt a bit emotional like watching him because he started and then he was trying to hold it back and then
Yeah.
his sort of tears just came and it was just very authentic and genuine. Then the other one I
Hmm.
had relates to my P1 basically. This is just what we were talking about is it's just the picture
Everyone
of him.
likes that. Yeah.
Everyone liked that. That was just
Yeah.
that was a good one.
Okay. Mine are probably more like you
Funny.
had heartfelt ones. My
I
ones are
was
more
very yeah,
funny.
go for it. Change the vibe.
Um,
Yeah.
I like this. I think this accurately describes the nature of the race at the front. Kimmy there playing on his phone, and then Russell, Leclerc, and Hamilton all fighting in the background, scrapping.
That was gonna
Um,
be the other one that I chose. So
yeah,
yeah, that's the
that's
one
a
I
good
saw.
one.
Yeah, yeah.
This one was about the retirements, and it's a Shark Tank meme of I'm out," and it's the just the graphic of Stroll, Oscar, Lando, Bortoleto, and Albon, and then also Max joined that. So this was a not even a full race retirement. Oscar, Lando, Max, and Alonso after the race, just looking depressed. And oh, this was like what I was saying before about George's attitude. Ken being angry, and it says George clapping for Kimmy
Oh,
with like a menacing look in his eye. They were my top ones. Oh, and one thing you mentioned before, we've got Oscar's iconic tweet that has been reworked, and it says, "I understand that without my agreement, McLaren F1 has said I would be racing for them this year. This was wrong, and I have not started a race in 2026. I will not be starting any race."
oh, Oscar. I mean, I
Yeah.
really hope, they say bad things come in threes, and I really hope that he's not gonna, touch wood, fingers crossed that he's just
Hmm.
gonna be able to get through a race,
Yeah.
which
Well,
is
he's had
crazy.
two.
Yeah.
Lando's had one, so maybe it's a collective team and they'll
I don't
be
know. It's just
fine next time.
crazy when you think about where they were last year this time, right?
Hmm.
To now just think that he hasn't even finished a race yet.
Yeah. They were
Yeah.
P1 too last year in
Mm,
China,
mm,
so
mm,
both not starting. I think arguably maybe a do not start is better than a did not finish, but
mm.
I don't know. Ideally
And
they want to be racing, so yeah.
exactly.
Mm.
So that's also a good way to think about what do we think is going to happen in Japan, which is the next race.
Chaos. I think chaos will happen in Japan. Suzuka is an awesome track. Like it's just such a cool track, and I think so many of the drivers love it. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe another Mercedes win. I'd like to see just more points throughout the field. maybe like Hedjar has a really good weekend, or maybe like Ollie Behrman might be on the podium, something like that.
Based on what we've seen so far, I think there's going to be some very tight battles, very
Yeah.
like wheel to wheel kind of action.
Hmm.
But I'm hoping that, from the way it's looking, I think Mercedes is going to win one of
Hmm.
them. I'm hoping that it's more like the way the sprint finished, which is you've got one Mercedes and then two Ferraris on the podium. So
Hmm.
I'm hoping to see both of them, like Charles and Lewis, up there. And then in terms of shakeups or people, I feel like I'm rooting for Behrman. So he seems like he's
Yeah.
doing well. And I'm curious to see where he ends up in the next race. So yeah, let's see
Maybe
what happens to
P4.
Ollie.
Maybe he'll keep going up until he's on the podium. I don't know how realistic a Haas podium would be, but something could happen, like reliability of the top ones again,
Yeah, or
opening
Lewis,
space.
yeah, Lewis and Charles end up doing more than a kiss for the cars, like and
Exactly.
then you just need to be that person, which used to be George, right? Last season, he
Yeah.
was just waiting, and then if something happened, he would just go in and take the spot. So
Yeah.
you never know what's going to
That might
happen.
be Ollie now.
Yeah,
Mm.
we will see what happens in Japan. See you at the next one.